Howdy folks, Eric here, back with another standard brew. Today, revisiting one of my OG deck lists that I did on this channel. When I started making videos again, this was the first deck I played. This is that, slightly different. I called it Green-White Tappers then, because it plays on this synergy that Reluctant Role Model and Sunstar Chaplain have, where they kind of want to be tapped pretty much as soon as possible, and you want tapped creatures in general to trigger their abilities. This is sort of what I would call the final version of that, combining multiple ideas across a few different decks that I've tried. This is really built around enabling that synergy, those abilities as quickly as possible. So once again, Reluctant Role Model, Sunstar Chaplain, they both have this clause where they say if Reluctant Role Model basically wants to be tapped by your second main phase to trigger its survival, and Sunstar Chaplain wants 2 tapped creatures by your end step, basically. So we have 3 different 1-drops, 12 total cards in our deck that enable these abilities to trigger on turn 2, essentially, is our goal. So we're playing 4 District Mascot, 4 Gene Pollinator, and 4 Voyager Glide Car over here, this vehicle. Kind of a classic combination. I've waffled between different amounts of these cards. I was like, I'm off the dog. Now I'm back on the dog. I've ultimately concluded the dog is not great. The dog is not great, but increasing the occurrence of this strong synergy is pretty important. And when the dog is good, it's actually pretty good against like control decks or slower decks. Eventually your opponent has to deal with it. It does get big enough to need to be dealt with. And against the decks that it's bad, like aggro decks, it's just a 1-mana 1/1 basically against aggro decks. You just board it out. But in your game 1, you want access to as much of that raw, like we are enabling the synergies as consistently as possible. And I think this is a pretty good deck for that. Other supporting players here, 4 Bulwark Ox. Kind of a secret hidden star in this deck. The important relevant ability here is that it has sacrifice a creature. Creatures you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Basically what this does is it lets you keep your key pieces around longer. It sounds a little obvious, I know, but like if you're really invested in this Reluctant Role Model or Sunstar Chaplain and getting their triggers going, same with your Cosmogran Zenith, right? You're really invested in these creatures. For 2 mana with some other relevant abilities, right? You're able to sacrifice the Bulwark Ox instead, keep your important creatures around, and basically just present a really, really aggressive big board in the face of removal, basically. 4 Cosmogran Zenith, 4 Brightglass Gearhulk, sort of the bigger pieces in the deck, arguably our strongest individual cards. But they play a pretty important role in this deck. Cosmogran Zenith helps you really close out the game, puts a lot of counters on your creatures, which once again synergizes with the Chaplain, with the Reluctant Role Model, with the Bulwark Ox, but also just allows you to go wide for very little resources, supported by the Abandoned Air Temples and Restless Prairies. And Brightglass Gearhulk enables Cosmogran Zenith. You can double spell incredibly easily and consistently with Brightglass Gearhulk. And we have a slew of 1-drops, so you never really run out of gas. We're not really doing like a toolbox thing with the Brightglass Gearhulk. It's pretty much just pure card advantage. Oftentimes I find myself just grabbing Gene Pollinators, which at the end of the day, yes, it's just like a 1-mana 1/2 by the time it comes down, but that's enough with the support from, once again, Abandoned Air Temples and Restless Prairies to present a very aggressive wide board. We also have a couple Seam Rips in the main. Just good targets for Brightglass Gearhulk, help clear out some early blockers and recoup some tempo. And 4 Sheltered by Ghosts. Just a solid card in these colors. Really helps you steal some games, especially like game 1 when people aren't necessarily prepared for your strategy. We're on 22 lands, 1 Bossing Say, 3 Abandoned Air Temples, 3 Restless Prairies. This deck gets a lot better, I think, when Temple Garden gets printed. But for now, the mana's fine. Mostly we're a white deck, right? We only really need one green in the beginning, and then if we have a Gene Pollinator on the field, pretty easy to access the second green. So the mana's not too bad. Having Bright Glass Gearhulk in the deck means we can't play like Soulstone Sanctuary, but for this strategy, Restless Prairie is actually very strong anyway. So as for the sideboard, I'm on 4 Yera and Oski, Weaver and Guide, 4 Surak. These are for like control matchups essentially. Sometimes Yera and Oski just gets like the artifact decks and locks them down. Mostly the idea here is that like the best card against us is Pinnacle Starcage, and having some aggressive effects in your sideboard that also dodge removal like that, or are a little more expensive to be able to like dodge a really efficient Day of Black Sun. I think that's where you want to be rather than on, say, a Demi of the Silk Shoots, because once again, he kind of falls into the Pinnacle Starcage trap, and also we have like a lot of main deck general board wipe safety in the Oxen, so we don't really need that kind of support. You could maybe argue for like Aven Interrupters as well, but I like that these are a little more proactive, and you can bring them into kind of any matchup and be pretty okay there. 3 Soul Guide Lantern, 1 Authority of the Consoles. I like the 1 Authority on the Gearhulk plan. Helps you shut down like Frostcliff Siege decks and Mono Red. 1 Seam Rip, just when you need an extra Seam Rip. Very good in the meta right now generally. 3 Get Lost, 2 Split Up, and 1 Avatar's Wrath. The other thing that's kind of interesting about the dog, just as one quick aside before I hop into some matches, it gives you a lot of equity against artifact decks, which, you know, being on the Get Lost plan already, like Get Lost covers your enchantment hate, essentially, right? Enchantments, planeswalkers, but it doesn't kill artifacts, so you're always kind of in a weird spot with your like green-white lists where you want to be playing Get Lost because it's probably the best 2-mana removal piece in the format. But it's like, well, now I also have to pack Artifact Hate, which has a lot of like crossover with Get Lost already, as far as like answering enchantments goes. District Mascot is kind of in a weird way, because it kills artifacts, basically gives us a lot like of equity there, and sort of balances everything out, I guess. We don't have to worry about packing Naturalizes specifically now, because we have enchantments covered with Get Lost, we have artifacts covered with the District Mascot. It all kind of works out. Okay, long-winded. I've been winning quite a lot on the ladder with this deck lately. Hopefully I can show off some of its power in some ranked matches here. All right, Durotan. Hopping into match 1 here. I'm going to keep this on the power of the District Mascot. I've seen this guy, Durotan, here on the MTGO dumps, playing the green-white Selesnya landfall list. I've been keeping my eye out, so we'll see if they're on that today. Seems pretty likely to me that they'd be testing that. Helps to do your research, I suppose. Well, we have our Reluctant Role Model, so we're going to go for that. Get things online here as quickly as possible. Put a counter on the Mascot, swing as a 2/2, and then we get to trigger the survival on the Role Model right away. Against this deck, it probably just makes sense to put a flying counter here. They won't have a good answer to that. Oh, okay. Simic. Paw Patch Recruit. Still, I think the flying counter was a nice choice anyway. I think they're probably just doing Ouroboros stuff. I might decide to Seam Rip here just to kind of stay ahead, I think. So I think I'm going to go Gene Pollinator. I'm going to crew up the Mascot here and swing in. And then second main, I think I'm just going to Seam Rip the Elf. They're going to get some good counters, but... Oh! They decide to double block. Well, fortunately for us, that's probably the wrong move, because whenever any other creature dies with counters on it, I get to move those counters. And because District Mascot is all counters, I get to move all 3 of his counters to this Gene Pollinator here, which makes it a 4/5 Gene Pollinator. Should be pretty formidable against our opponent. Play a Bossing Say here. And we have the Bulwark Ox to kind of support everything. Flying on the Reluctant Role Model should be enough to help close out the game here. And we'll get a couple good swings with the Gene Pollinator beforehand as well. Yeah, I don't know if I would have made that block. Maybe they didn't have an Ouroboros in hand. And they probably didn't realize what Reluctant Role Model did. Fair fair enough on that angle. I'm not too many people playing this card. Pawpatch Recruit coming down. Well, there's a basic Plains, which is kind of good, actually. Let's just play the Abandoned Air Temple untapped next turn. And I could choose to activate Bossing Say this turn, but I think I'm just going to go for... Actually, Bossing Say is probably better than the Ox right now. Let's just go for that. I'm not going to use the Gene Pollinator. I guess I'll just swing in. Just swing in here. Go for a 1/1 counter. I changed my mind. Let's just go for the Bulwark Ox. If they have anything to do about this role model, the Ox will just ensure that we're able to keep everything around here. And not a whole lot that they can do, to be honest. Maybe they can present some chump blockers in the air, but kind of seems like their hand is pretty ill-equipped for what we're trying to do. They're reading their cards. They're trying to figure out how to stay in this, but I think we're just too far ahead. We are simply too far ahead. Pawpatch Recruit. All right. And it all kind of cascaded from that bad block in the beginning, I think. They didn't necessarily know that I was planning on seam ripping the elf, but they definitely should have paid more attention to Reluctant Role Model. There's a huge advantage to playing cards that no one knows. It's kind of my favorite thing, because it's like it's almost twofold, really. You, as the rogue deck, have as many reps as you want against the meta decks, right? So you understand the matchups, but your opponent is playing it for the first time for the most part, usually, right? So that's advantage number one. Advantage number two is people underestimate you, and they write off cards like this and say, it's just like a 2/2. I don't need to read the whole thing. I kind of know what it does. It does counters, right? But they write it off because they assume it's a bad card because no one plays it, right? But I think there are a ton of cards like this, especially in these colors, man. Green-white gets a pretty bad rap, but I don't think I can win the game this turn. I guess I just swing in. I just swing in with these two. Plan to use the Air Temple. So people underestimate your cards, and they write them off because people aren't playing them, and people don't play them because they've written them off. It's just like this weird... I don't know. It's this weird, like... I'll just go for a lifelink counter. Ouroboros eating its own tail, in a way, I guess. And so when they end up playing against them, the cards that you are playing as the rogue deck tend to be more powerful than they expect, because they have never cast them themselves. They've already written them off. And B, they've never played against them, so they don't really know what they do. So it all ends up working out in your favor quite nicely. And in modern card design, the distance between the power of the cards is really not as high as people expect. Surely, I think in some capacity it's correct that the meta decks are the best decks. Kind of full stop. It's pretty unlikely that the best thing to be doing is Undiscovered. But the second best thing beats the best thing in the hands of someone that has reps against the best thing against someone that does not have reps against the second best thing. Because the second best thing could be undiscovered. Essentially is kind of how I think about it, right? All this yapping. Won the game. Bringing the board wipes against this go wide list. Don't really need authority of the consoles. It can be okay. It's a little better on the play, in my opinion. It helps you maintain tempo, but I think we just want to lean in on the reactive cards, bring in the Seam Rip, bring in the Get Losts. In this matchup, feel free to cut your district mascots. They're just too small. And they're not going to be able to swing in as well on the draw, especially. We can rely on Cosmic Grand Zenith and Voyager Glide Cars and Bright Glass Gear Hulk to like kind of eventually close out games. Reluctant Role Model as well, gaining flying. We have like a lot of sneaky flying in this deck. Bulwark Ox, not super necessary in this matchup. We'll go down a couple Oxen. And then I think on the draw, feel free to cut a land. I'm going to choose to cut the Bossing Say. Don't think it's super relevant here. So yeah, anyway, the Is It list, super tuned, right? Any of them. They're all tuned. They have very efficient cards. But if you've played the ranked ladder at all, you've played the Isn't matchup 1,000 times, right? Exaggerating, sure, but you've played it a ton. And you know how their deck functions, and you know how to attack it. Graveyard Hate, efficient removal like Seam Rip, so on and so forth. Gonna keep this. Turn 1 Restless Prairie, turn 2. I want the Verge, but I also want the Air Temple. I guess it doesn't hurt me too much to keep them both. There's a turn 1 Llanowar Elves. Forest for our troubles. Off to a strong start here. Might not be able to do anything about this unless we draw like a Seam Rip. Oh, or a Split Up. Split Up at this point is kind of what we need. Well, there's our Split Up. Go ahead and play a Reluctant Role Model here. See what our opponent decides to do. They could have the Ouroboros. It would be quite good. There's a Drunith. Paw Patch Recruit. Big Paw Patch Recruit. I think I can still beat this. Depends on what they have in their hand, I suppose. Swinging in. No blocks here. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to play the Abandoned Air Temple tapped. Kind of pretend I don't really have anything. Plan to get lost an Ouroboros, and then when they swing out with everything next turn, just split up and hope that's enough to win the game. There's a Beastbinder. They're going to have 2 Beastbinders, so that's a little annoying. Passes it to me. Swinging with everything. Go ahead and block. Think that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. Take a million. I think I'm going to go for a Get Lost on their Beastbinder right now. See what they decide to do here. They're going to get a million counters. If they're smart, they'll put them all on the untapped Beastbinder. Put 2 on the untapped Beastbinder. Wow. Okay, well, Seam Rip was exactly what we needed there. Destroy all tapped creatures. Oh. Sometimes you just need a little luck on your side too. Swing in with the role model. I think we want to get some flying going. So next turn we can shelter by ghosts and guaranteed swing in, you know. Do I deserve to win this one? I don't know. I guess you could argue I put myself in the position to win it. See if they have a Tishana's Tidebinder, I suppose. They could like counter the me eating a map. But they can't really take me off of doing this, I think. Swing in for 3. Go back up to 5. The Tidebinder at this point won't be enough to get me on the backswing. And now we're in a pretty good position. Okay, there's the Tidebinder for the role model trigger. Makes sense. Play our Gene Pollinator. We're still in it. You know, they could swing if they want to. We have the ability to start activating our air temple. They have a gene of their own. Second gene. No blocks. Bright Glass Gear Hulk. Okay. Well, we'll play the Bright Glass Gear Hulk. Pretty good right now. I think we just want... How does this play out? If they draw an Ouroboros, I'd love to be able to clear up the Tishana's Tidebinder, but I don't think that's happening. Double Seam Rip just kind of clears out their options at the very least. I'm just going to go Double Seam Rip, and I'm going to start hitting them. Against this matchup, it's very unlikely that they have removal for the Bright Glass Gear Hulk. I'm just going to start swinging in and present as fast of a clock as I can, basically. There's another Gene Pollinator. Swing in with the Bright Glass here. Activate the Abandoned Air Temple. And then next turn I can fire up the Restless Prairie and swing with everything. See if our opponent draws anything real. There's a Paw Patch. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be enough through the Bright Glass First Strike Trample, though. Okay, well, this is a bit of a mistake, I think, because I can just block with the Gene Pollinator. Activate the Temple, and now I have Lifelink again, which should be enough to just win. Okay, good game. I got pretty lucky there, but the deck did what it was designed to do, so let's hop into the next one. All right, match number 2 on the play. Really good hand. The man is a little slow, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I'm just going to lead on... I'm going to hedge a little bit here. I'm going to lead on the Gene Pollinator. If I draw an untapped land, this lets me do my powerful thing, guaranteed. If not the end of the world. Then another District Mascot. Okay. Well, against a green deck, I think I'm just going to jam. Put my dogs on the field. Oh, this card cracks me up. It cracks me up. Badgermole Cub. Okay. Voyager Glide Car. Well, we want flying as quickly as possible against these green decks. Go ahead and saddle up. Saddle up. Swing in for 4. We really don't mind if our opponent wants to trade here. Go ahead and put flying on our Reluctant Role Model. And yeah, once again, this guy's all counters, so if it dies, which it's not necessarily that likely to do in this matchup unless I block, it's just power that I get to maintain on the field. Abandoned Air Temple. I think I'm going to do kind of the same thing here. And they may not realize, once again, that this is the Zenith good. The The Zenith is good. Because I can Gear Hulk next turn and then Zenith double spell. I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to swing in with both of them. Keep the pressure up. If they choose to block, then I win out pretty heavily with like a flying lifelink role model here. Yeah, I don't know if they realize what this card does necessarily. They probably don't have an answer to this. This Baneslayer Angel essentially is what it has become. Once again, taking advantage of the fact that people don't really know what you're doing. You know, if you build your deck right, people might not know what your cards do. Now, will this scenario happen in a pro tour? Probably not. But right here, right now, yeah, I'm gonna take advantage of this knowledge gap. Just gonna swing in with the role model now. I can hold back blocks with the district mascot and play a Gear Hulk here. Tap down the Glide Car. Play a Bright Glass Gear Hulk. And then next turn we have Lethal in the air with the Voyager Glide Car. Let's just grab a Seam Rip for the Innkeeper's talent. And I suppose like a Gene Pollinator is probably fine. Maybe just like another Glide Car. I'm going to go Gene Pollinator. It blocks. It blocks sometimes. But I'm looking at Lethal in the air right now anyway. So not a whole lot they could do here. I guess if they have Ouroboros, they can swing at me for quite a lot, but shouldn't be too relevant. Levels up the talent. Are they going for second level up? Kind of feels like they don't have anything in hand. Second level up. And that should be the game for us here. Swing it in. I mean, are you not going to learn? Surely you don't have an answer to my reluctant role model for 1 green. Do you have a main deck pick your poison? All right. Game 2 against mono green, maybe? I don't know. Bring in the split ups. Bring in a Seam Rip. Bring in the Get Losts. Avatar's Wrath. Go down on the mascots. They did look kind of good there, actually, but our opponent's not going to fall for it again, so let's just cut down on those. Maybe go down 1 Sheltered by Ghost. There's a little bit of tension between these board wipes and Sheltered by Ghost, but often we can really maximize the effectiveness of Split Up because we have so many ways to tap our own creatures that aren't combat, you know? So we pretty much have all of the control when we cast these split ups and can wipe their board very effectively while keeping our board alive. Yeah, go down another Shelter by Ghost. It is pretty good, but not necessarily how we're gonna win. Another Bulwark Ox. Right like that. Dan Whites. On the draw for game 2. Off to a pretty good start here. I like this hand. A little controlling. Could use a second creature. That's pretty much all it's missing, but pretty good. Cosmic Rain Zenith. Could be a good Cosmic Rain Zenith game. Double Sheltered by Ghosts. Okay, that could be good. Let's lead on Passage on green. The only thing you really need to think about mana-wise for this deck is getting mana to cast your Gear Hulks. Another Cosmic Rain Zenith is kind of nasty. Let's just go ahead and Seam Rip the talent. Kind of a tempo play. Get our Zeniths online. You could maybe argue hold the Seam Rip to be able to double spell on turn 4 if you hit a land drop. Could be right. Grab Shooter. Okay. Blows up my Seam Rip. Gives me a card. Interesting. Well, I'm just going to play the Zenith. They could have like a fight spell, but not really going to choose to play around it here when I have the possibility of double spelling next turn now. There's a fight, or whatever this variant of not actually fighting fight is called. Innkeeper's Talent. Okay. Gene Pollinator. Maybe we just play a Gene Pollinator this turn and hold up Get Lost for the Scrap Shooter. Well, Scrap Shooter's actually not that big of a problem because it doesn't have trample. And I can eventually just block, with the Zenith tokens. So maybe I like Gene Pollinator now. What if I just Gene Pollinator and Shelter by Ghosts the Surak? And then next turn I can Zenith plus another Shelter by Ghost if I draw another land. I mean, all of this seems pretty okay. Keeping them off of maps for now seems fine too. They're going to be able to draw a card. We have a glut of Shelter by Ghosts, so might as well use them up here. And then Gene Pollinator gives us the mana in combination with his Shelter by Ghosts to double spell for sure. Or a Boroid. Okay, so we just need to fade like an Overprotect. But we should be able to produce enough blockers here to stave off their aggression. Tap the Shelter by Ghosts. Make some 1/1s. Land on top. Don't really need that right now. Pretty good mana-wise. 4 is pretty much where we want to be. 5 eventually, but if I draw double land, I'm not too thrilled here. Okay, so there's Trample for them. So now pretty much our only out is like a board wipe. Probably going to lose this one unless we see a board wipe here. Block like this. Use our creatures to activate Voyager Glidecar's second ability to make it a vehicle, or make it a creature and put a 1/1 counter and flying until end of turn. I guess, you know what I guess I can do? I can almost like, the ward on these Paw Patch recruits is going to be a bit of a problem. But I can almost take them out. I guess what I do here is I Shelter by Ghosts, the Innkeeper's Talent. Get Lost, a Paw Patch recruit. I guess I have to Get Lost an Ouroboros here. I guess it doesn't super matter. Yeah, I think I'm just dead. Because if I Get Lost the Ouroboros, they still have enough trampling damage, probably. I haven't done the math. I guess we'll do it. Make some 1/1s. Yeah, they for sure got it. The world where I have to block with the Cosmogran Zenith is the world where I lose, so let's just move it into game 3 here. Gonna bring in the Authority on the play. Gonna go up a Bulwark Ox on the play. Let's cut down on some of these Get Losts, I think. We can rely on the Shelter by Ghosts a little more. Maybe go down the Avatar's Wrath. Up the Shelter by Ghosts on the play. Shelter by Ghosts is just so much better on the play. Same with the dog. You go up a couple dogs. We don't really need the dogs. I like that. Get Lost is obviously good. Maybe I'll regret cutting it. Maybe that's silly to cut it against the Ouroboros deck, but I think we have, because we can like do this sneaky reluctant role model thing. This is okay. Not doing the sneaky reluctant role model thing, but if we draw a land, we get to swing in with a Bulwark Ox. There's an authority of the consuls. Just play the Ox. Might get punished for keeping this one. Badgermole Cub. Gonna be a bit of a problem. Could use another white source here. Is probably our best draw. Hushwood Verge. Lit up. Interesting. I'm gonna swing in for 2. I'm gonna play the authority of the consuls, and then maybe I just get a sneaky split up next turn. Play to my outs here. Grab Shooter. Are you going to let me draw a card? That would be kind of you. Thank you. Reluctant Role Model. Are you swinging in with the Cub? Playing around split up. Fair enough. Sheltered by Ghosts. Sheltered by Ghosts is kind of huge here. Cuts them off of mana quite a lot. Yeah, just gonna go for that. Well, yeah. I think that's pretty good. Sheltered by Ghost the Cub. Set them back to 2 mana here. We're both kind of stuck, but I am gaining life. Do they draw a land? Ward 2. Kind of crazy. I mean, this card would be unplayable without the ward, but there's a Llanowar Elves. Well, we have a Seam Rip for the Elves if we so choose. There's another Plains. Kind of a huge draw. I think I'm just going to Seam Rip the Elves for tempo here. Keep them off of mana. Play the Reluctant Role Model. I can saddle, but I don't have to swing with the Ox. No attacks. Put a flying counter on the Role Model. Scrap Shooter has reach, but the flying counter ultimately is going to be the most important thing here. Okay, so we can let this happen, but I'll be able to put a flying counter on the Ox now. They may find this difficult. They're going to have to leave back their Scrap Shooter. Multiversal Passage, kind of a huge draw. Go for the Gear Hulk, set up a double spell next turn. Let's grab Seam Rip in case they have another elf. And it's just generically good. Hits the Innkeeper's Talents. And then I think I like Gene Pollinator here. I also kind of like the Glide Car. Glide Car helps us manage our split ups. Hunter's Talent. Pretty good. Gets to eat my Bright Glass Gear Hulk. Still stuck on 2 lands. Glide Car. Well, we're going to get to double spell here. Do we want the Glide Car on the field or the Pollinator? I think we want the Pollinator over the Glide Car. Play a Zenith. Double spell. Yeah, just go wide. We don't really need the Ox to win at this point. And they can't beat a wide board, especially on 2 lands. Specifically on 2 lands, I should say. Hard-hitting question. Fighting the Zenith. Alright. They have a kind of a cool deck list. They have a lot of play. Boy, I'd love to swing in with this Ox. I simply cannot. Let's play a Glide Car. I guess we'll play the Gear Hulk first. Play the Gear Hulk first. Generate more resources. Grab another Seam Rip. Grab another Pollinator here with a handful of Glide Cars. I'm going to play a Glide Car and then plan to Shelter by Ghosts. Yeah, I'll take that. Play a Glide Car and plan to activate its ability on their turn. And then I should be able to win with the Sheltered by Ghosts. Not a whole lot they can do about that. Third land for them. I guess they could have another hard-hitting question here and fight my Bulwark Ox. That would unlock some mana for them. They'd have to spend their whole turn doing it. Another Scrap Shooter. Probably gonna eat my Shelter by Ghosts, or maybe the Gear Hulk. Eats the Sheltered by Ghosts. Okay. Fires up their land, gifts me a card. There's the Sheltered by Ghosts. I'm going to activate my Glide Car here. Put a counter on it. I'm looking to try to split up this board, I think. Destroy all untapped creatures. I can... like... The best way to do this. I guess what I do is I tap like this. Like this. Fire up the Glide Car. I can put a Sheltered by Ghosts on the Scrap Shooter here. Or Sheltered by Ghosts on the Bright Glass. Eat a Scrap Shooter. I'm gonna tap like this. Just gotta get all of our creatures tapped. Preemptively eat a Scrap Shooter, take them off of any good blocks. Swing in. Split up the board, and then they don't have basically anything they can do about that, I think. I'll just play a Glide Car post-combat. Now all of their like fight stuff is offline, because they don't have any big creatures to be able to fight with. Play another Glide Car. Unstar Chaplain, sure. Should be fine. Should be fine. Really helped that our opponent did not hit their land drops for about 5 turns, it felt like, and we just had all this time to set up this board state. They tried to put up a good fight with their fight spells, but was not enough. On to match number 3. On the play for match 3. Not a great hand. It's pretty good if we draw a Chaplain or a Role Model. I like that it has our colors. The Glide Car's Scry. If they didn't Scry, I don't think I'd keep this, but we get 2 Scries with this hand as well. Pretty likely that we can find some action here. Mono red, presumably. Well, there's our hit. Go ahead and shock ourselves. Go on green. Start swinging in. Now you would maybe think that you want to just like jam lifelink against mono red, but really, you know, we have Sheltered by Ghosts already. We'll get flying eventually. It's just important to start putting counters on this because all of their removal is damage based. Yeah, I'm pretty much willing to say that we kind of win at this point. There's not a whole lot they can do about Sheltered by Ghosts on the Role Model. Second Role Model. Sheltered by Ghosts. Suppose we eat the Lizard here. Not going to be able to block Bastronaut really anyway. Their Lizard's getting big is kind of the only thing that contests this. We'll get flying eventually. Let's just keep going for the 1/1 counters. Just play a tapped land. Just don't don't mind me. Just my 2-mana 5/4 lifelink ward 2. Nova Hellkite. Yeah, it doesn't do a whole lot. They're swinging in. We managed to dodge all of their removal, so pretty much this is kind of a guaranteed win for us here, I think. Bright Glass pretty much seals the deal as well. Yeah, I'm pretty much willing to just shock myself and play a Bright Glass here. I don't need to tap it, but just grabbing 2 Seam Rips, a lot of the time your mono red opponents will just scoop to that. In my experience. They tend to just scoop to that. Let's play let's go for flying now. They probably don't have an answer to it anyway. They could play like an Odor Oxynil, which could block it theoretically if I didn't give it flying, so go for the flying. Did we do it? Did we do it? I think we did it. I think we did it several turns ago. They're reading my cards. They're wondering how they have found themselves in this mess. Contemplating life choices. Swinging in. Speed goes up to 4. Levels up the Hired Claw. Emberheart Challenger. Well, I mean, you know I have 2 Seam Rips in hand. Let's just Seam Rip your blockers. Yep, okay. Good game. As for sideboarding, pretty straightforward here. On the draw, I like to bring in the board wipes. Personally, I don't like to mess with the Get Lost in this matchup. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. We're much more likely to just win with our Shelter by Ghosts and board wipes and stuff. Get Lost, I really hate that it gives them access to 2 maps for their Emberheart Challengers. I think that's a real cost, a real detriment. Cut the dogs. Bring out... Probably don't cut a land here. Bright Glass is just so good. Yeah, you could maybe cut a land. 21 is a little risky, but... I'm not a math magician. Cut a Bossing Set. Try it like this. Yara and Oski could be okay. All of their... It's like creatures and instants is what they play, right? You just name instants. Pretty good. It's a good hand. Early Authority of the Consoles. That's a good draw. Get to sort of stabilize with our Gear Hulks. I have a feeling they brought in, like, Legend of Roku. Try to grind us out. We'll see how well that goes for them. Kind of feels like that's what they have if they're kind of playing slowly like this. I'm going to go for a Glide Car. I'm not going to play the Role Model quite yet. And I'll just play a tapped passage here. Yep, we want a land. We do want a land. That is true. All right, everything is going swimmingly. Hired Claw. Enters tapped. Yeah, Authority of the Consoles, that's going to be a real problem for you, I think. They probably have removal for this, but not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. Burst Lightning. We're going to have so many other cards to play anyway. Might as well just cast our guys. Not a whole lot they can do about a big Sheltered by Ghost Bright Glass Gear Hulk. Swing in with the Hired Claw. Hushwood Verge. That's a nice draw. Would like to stop drawing lands now, though. Go for the Gear Hulk. See if they brought in a Braids, maybe? Just grab 2 Seam Rips. Pretty straightforward. Not going to think about this one too much. Pretty likely that they have removal for the Gear Hulk if they want it. Just going to swing in for 2. Keep the pressure up. We eventually have to win anyway. We can't just, like, sit back and block forever. Obliterating Bolt. Fair enough. Swing it in. We have a pretty good next turn. Just play a second Gear Hulk and Seam Rip the Hired Claw. Sunstar Chaplain. Okay. Go for Gear Hulk number 2. I think this time I am going to elect to hold back a blocker. We need another Seam Rip. I think we just need bodies, kind of. Let's just grab bodies here. They might have another Obliterating Bolt. They might not. But we drew out the first one. See if they have a second one. And the interesting thing is, like, Bright Glass is still just a 4-mana 4/4. First strike trample. Kind of crazy. Find Seam Rips when you need it, but also, you know, like 2 bodies in this deck specifically. 2 bodies is sick. Helps us activate our glide cars really nicely. Plays really nicely with our utility lands. Yes, at the end of the day, they're just like 1-mana 1/2s, but there's some flexibility there still. Looks like we are doing our... Ooh, Bulwark Ox. Looks like we're doing our Sheltered by Ghosts thing. It'd be pretty tough for them to deal with. I'd love to get a counter on the Gear Hulk as well. Looks like we can do that with the Sunstar Chaplain. Help it dodge Obliterating Bolt. Sheltered by Ghosts. Eat up the Legend of Roku. It's a bit of a problem if they, like, deal with the Gear Hulk eventually, but I suppose they would have to have specifically, like, a Braid at this point. Swing for 5. Gonna hold the Seam Rip. And then if we untap and get to land this Bulwark Ox, then we are in the business. Crew up the Glide Car to turn on the Chaplain trigger. Put a counter on the Gear Hulk here. A little dangerous to eat the Legend of Roku in retrospect, but we'll see. Keeps them from being able to pay for Ward more effectively. They could just have garbage in their hand, right? Say I ate the Hired Claw, right, and they have like double Lightning Strike. They could have killed the Gear Hulk at this point. Paying 8 mana. But now that I've eaten the Roku, double Lightning Strike is not enough. So kind of works out. And yeah, and I'll pretend I considered that when I made the game action. Looks like we are untapping with the Gear Hulk, which means we win. Swinging in. Pings me for quite a lot here. I'm just going to take it. I think I can find a lethal next turn. I'm assuming all they have is level up the Hired Claw here. Can I find a lethal? Remove a counter. That's 5 damage. Tap this. Play a Gene Pollinator. Swing for 8, 9, 10, 11. And they're at 11. Sounds good to me. Gene Pollinator, go! All right, good game. Sheltered by Ghosts. I mean, obviously gives us a lot of power in the red matchups, but here we are. 3-0. Match number 4, on the play again. Getting a little lucky with these die rolls. Sweet hand. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a little awkward that we have to play this Forest on turn 1. But it's okay. We can go Ox turn 2, put the counter on Cosmic Grant Zenith turn 3. Very resilient, and then we get to start double spelling. They're reading the Bulwark Ox up against another green deck. I think this is like, is this the third Llanowar Elves deck I've played against on this video? Tifa Lockhart. Okay. Multiversal Passage. Well, that helps guarantee that we get to double spell next turn. I'm going to go for the thing. Not a whole lot I can do about this Tifa anyway. Just got to try to outrace them. Hope they don't have a crazy combo turn next turn. Still just go for the counter on Zenith in case they have any sort of fight shenanigans. And if they want to double block, they can. They're more than welcome to. I guess they could have like a 1-mana pump. I don't know what that would be. Maybe they play Giant Growth in some capacity. Elects to block with Tifa. Elects to Snakeskin Veil. Fair enough. Mossborn Hydra. See if they have a fetch here. Yeah. Looking not so good. Pretty much all that gets us out of this now is like a Sheltered by Ghosts. Because then we could go Glidecar, Sheltered by Ghosts on the Zenith. Have some blockers. Not great blockers because of all the trample, but just having a big Zenith with lifelink. Pretty much the only thing that keeps us in this, I think. Seam Rip for the Tifa is not bad. See if they have a second fetch. Gonna have to shock myself here. We don't want the planes. Kinda just need them to miss their land drops. Pretty much the only thing that keeps us in it. Make some 1/1s. No attacks. Another Hydra. Another Fabled Passage. Yeah, that ought to do it. Gonna be a 16/16 Hydra. We can block a little bit of it. Go to 1. I don't think I have anything in my main deck that can answer two big Trampling Hydras, so let's just scoop this one up. Fair enough. On the play, game 2, bring in a Seam Rip. Bring in the Authority. I think it's pretty good against other creature decks in general. Just being able to like have the advantage and attack with our guys. That's about it. Their stuff can be tapped. The life gain doesn't matter, but when you're playing a green deck, you live or die against other aggro decks by your ability to block, and taking away their ability to block completely pretty much is really, really powerful for 1 white. Bring in the Get Losts. Gotta have them in this matchup. Yaren and Oski is actually kind of interesting. Being able to name instant kind of chokes them on mana a little bit. It's kind of interesting. I'm gonna try it out tentatively. I don't think it's very good, but I also don't think like our district mascots are very good even on the play. Glide cars can be okay. Bulwark Ox we can go down on a couple. And maybe we just cut all the oxen. Gotta have the Shelter by Ghosts. Okay, maybe Yaronoski's bad. I don't know. Just cut him. Seems worse than the other things that we could be doing. Gonna be a tough matchup, I think. in general. Our removal doesn't line up super well. Giving them maps, not super great. Split up is kind of maybe one of the ways that we get to win this. Turn 1 Gene Pollinator. Sets up our Sunstar Chaplain on 2. There's a Get Lost. Not the worst. Go for a Chaplain here. Go for a second Pollinator. And start putting some counters on the Chaplain, I think. See what they've got going on. There's Mossborn. Just going to go ahead and manage this before it gets out of hand. Play this passage on white. And swing in with everything. Let's just keep going big Sunstar, I think. Just having the bigger thing on the board, I think, is a little more important, ultimately. Yes, you have maps. I see your maps. They're very good and nice for you. But, once again, having the bigger thing on board, pretty good here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to swing in with the Chaplain, I think. Well, I'm definitely going to swing in with the Chaplain. I'm kind of thinking I can just maybe get away with tapping their Hydra on their turn. But I'd also like to get a counter going on Gene Pollinator. Yeah, I guess I just do it. Swing with the Chaplain. I can tap the other Gene Pollinator here for nothing. I guess I can Seam Rip an Elf. That's actually maybe not the worst idea. And then trigger the Chaplain. And then when they go to attack, I can just tap down their Hydra with Sunstar Chaplain's ability. Chocobo on the field. Yeah, I guess maybe I should have responded to the Chocobo. Because now they could have, like, Snakeskin Veil. Which is fine if they do have that. Tap that. And then I can tap the Chocobo as well, and then just split up. Kind of nasty with it. A lot of sneaky power in this deck, the split up. Ooh. Destroy all taps creatures. Ooh. Destroy all taps creatures. Split you up. Swing with these two. Hold up the mana to get lost or tap something down. Pretty effective, this Sunstar Chaplain. I like, too, that like Gene Pollinator not only enables the first ability, but also gives you a lot of extra mana to be able to enable the second one. Firstly, Bill on the field. Going for a map. I think that's okay. You got it. Snakeskin Veil on top. Passes. Concedes. Fair enough. The Sunstar Chaplain. Got relevant text. On the draw, just going to run it back. Just going to run it back here. Match 4. Currently 3-0 still. On the draw for game 3 of match 4. I would say it's probably in their favor, but if we keep a hand with enough removal and they kind of dirtle about for a bit, we could definitely get a win. Well, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this. Double split up. Could be tough for them to beat double split up. That's his Chocobo. Lead on the Temple, because it will come in tapped with this hand. Another Chocobo. I'm going to play the Hushwood Verge here. It could maybe signal to them that I don't have the ability to get double white. Like maybe they think I have just another Verge in hand. This is sort of a psychological choice almost, where it's like, maybe they're not thinking about split up right now as a possibility, and they choose to swing in with everything. Whereas if I like shock Multiversal Passage in on white, they might be like, oh, okay, split up could be an option. We'll see what they do. Takes the conservative route. Swings for 3. Ba Sing Se. I'm gonna go once again, sort of for this mind game play. Play a Zenith. Show them double Hushwood Verge. Make them think maybe I'm here. Maybe even hit them. Maybe even hit them with a Lands. Am I right? See what they think about that. I usually don't opt for psychological warfare, but made me laugh in this situation. See if they decide to get saucy here. Llanowar Elves. Double swing with the Chocobo. Well, that's what we like to see. See what else they have going on. Play a tapped passage on white. Plains, importantly. Royal tapped creatures. See if that goes through. Origin of Metal Bending, cool. Keeps the Chocobo alive. I guess I'll opt to chump with a role model here. Hold them both back. I'm at 6. One hit from the Chocobo kills me, so if they have any removal, I would regret swinging. Play a role model, or block with the role model here. Hope we draw like a Seam Rip so we can double spell and... I guess I could just play... Man, I'm pretty close to just playing Bright Glass, huh? I'm still just going to go for the split up. It's the safer option. It does not give me an out to like a future Hydra, I suppose, but takes them off of the thing that is killing me right now. Make some weenies. And then we get to double spell again next turn with the... Do I swing? Yeah, I think so. Pretty unlikely that they have an overprotect at this point. I think they would have used it by now. Bristly Bill. Seems like it could be a good draw. We do have Gear Hulk into double Seam Rip on this board. Could be enough to put the game away. Play Plains. Play a Gear Hulk. See if they have anything to say about this. I think we just might steal this one. Do we even need double Seam Rip? I think I'm going to go for the Authority of the Consuls. Kind of helps guarantee that we get to close this one out next turn. Go for counters. Big board. Try to Seam Rip Bill here. Snakeskian Veil. Go for Authority. Swing for 3. Not a whole lot they could have at this point, I think. Six dodges like the World Souls Rage. Tapped Tifa. There's a World Souls Rage. Hitting some land drops now. Bigger bill. Okay. I mean, if there's something that's going to do it here, maybe not grabbing another Seam Rip is something I'm going to regret. Well. Okay. Well, who needs good decision making when you can just luck into wins? Let's just see if we have lethal anyway. I mean, if I fire up the Restless Prairie, they block my biggest thing and take... What is it? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, they're just dead anyway. All right. Authority of the Consuls. Good enough. Good enough. Fun match. The gear Hulk made me feel, I mean, it made me feel good drawing it to know we extra won, but yeah, just winning off the back of the Restless Prairie here. Being able to go wide and Alpha Strike. Match number 4 in the books. Let's move into the final one, 4-0. Oh shit, 666? Yo. Final match, on the play again. Some guys get all the luck. Great hand. Lead on a dog. Somehow on the play again. I think that's like 4 of 5 matches in this series that I've gotten to play. They're reading District Mascot. Possibly a mono red matchup. Interesting. Let's see if they have an answer for my District Mascot. Seems pretty likely. Go ahead and play the Ox. Passage is not a bad draw. Opens up future Gear Hulk draws. They're reading all of my cards. The weird thing is, like, it's basically just like a very, I wouldn't call it a simple aggro deck, because there are a lot of little abilities and stuff on these creatures, but they're all like 1 mana 1/1s and 2 mana 2/2s and stuff like that. But they have a lot of text on them, so anytime I cast anything, my opponents are like reading novels on my cards. Kind of cracks me up a little. Yeah, we'll go for it here. Go ahead and swing in. If they decide to shock the District Mascot, I think I'm just going to let them. It might be a little different if my mascot was bigger, but the Bulwark Ox is a little more flexible long term. Mage Bane Lizard. Well, we should have this one wrapped up pretty tidy. With this multiversal passage, or with this Shelter by Ghosts. Not a whole lot they can do about this one. Saddle up the Ox. Shelter by Ghosts on the Ox. A little awkward that we have to put the Shelter by Ghosts on the Ox here, but just kind of makes sense. Swing in, counter on the Ox, dodges future Burst Lightnings, and then we'll be able to keep it big enough for long enough to dodge future Lightning Strikes as well. With the sort of critical ward 2 here once again. Cosmic Rain Zenith. Okay. Whee! Not a whole lot to think about here. Not going to go for the mascot quite yet. And then next turn we kind of set up this crazy board where if any of our stuff dies, we just get to keep all of its power around. I should have played a tapped multiversal passage. I'm just so excited about being against mono red again. It's kind of a huge dub for us. Aw. So now they can level up the Hired Claw here, but I think this is gonna do it. Go for a role model, double spell, put some counters on, and that's gonna lock this one up because they won't be able to block my Ox anymore. And now if anything dies, I just get to move its counters around. Gene Pollinator can go to the bottom. Doesn't super matter. Battle up the Ox. Let me double check the math. Swing for 6. Yeah, that ought to do her. Do I swing with the Cosmic Grand Zenith? I don't really have to. Just gets blocked by the Mage Bane Lizard. Seven, 6. They have 5 power that they can block with. Simply will not be enough. And we can move it on to game 2. Unless they want to play it out. Because I'm at 31 now. And I have 2 big nasty lifelinkers on the field. Counter on the Hired Claw. They want to play it out. They're saying, I've been in worse spots before. I don't. You've won from this far back before. I doubt it. I doubt it. Mono red. Sunspine Links. Well, it's a pretty good start. Only pings us for 1, but keeps us off the life gain. Draw a card. Another Bulwark Ox actually just super wins it for us because we can freely swing with our stuff now and just give it indestructible. Go ahead and just crew up the Bulwark Ox. Put a counter on the Zenith here. Oh, I goofed. I tapped wrong. Shouldn't be a huge deal still. Yeah, we'll just let the Zenith die. We don't really need it to win. I saddled this Ox with this Ox when I meant to saddle this Ox with this Ox. So, should not be the end of the world. We're just so far ahead that we can afford that kind of mistake. Double blocking the role model here. Okay, well, the thing they don't realize about this, I can still just give indestructible to my guys, I suppose. Kill off. Well, you know what's better here? I could just give indestructible. And I was going to say maybe the first strike helps me here, but I guess it's probably just better to keep these things around. Kill off the Needlehead, I think. The first strike is a little bit relevant in the future. Oh, right. It's not first striking because it's my turn. Let's go ahead and get flying to the role model. That should be enough to close out the game. Learn from my mistakes. Crew your oxen properly. I'm just going to go for this. I'm at such a high life total that it just does not matter. Actually, what I could have done there, I missed lethal again. Sacrifice the Ox and move its counters onto the role model. It's okay. I'm just eager to get this one over with, so I'm just like, game actions. Too embarrassed, too shy. I really don't know why they're choosing to play this one out. Yeah, okay, good game. Too embarrassed, too shy. On to game 2. On the draw, I like my board wipes. Bring in the seam rips. Go ahead, take out the mascots. And is that a land? Is that a bossing say? Right, like that? Pretty good game 1. A little messy. Learn from my mistakes. Game 2. Well, the mana's slow because we don't have a basic for the Air Temples, but I like the Shelter by Ghost plus Zenith, so I'm going to keep it on that merit. Lead on the Restless Prairie here. Just deploy most of our tapped lands to start, I think. Sunstar Chaplain's pretty good. Go for the Pollinator. Go for an Air Temple. We don't need to like rush into the Chaplain here. It's probably just going to die to removal anyway. Better to establish this Zenith first, and then use the Chaplain to double spell, I think. Now, if they don't answer the Cosmic Grand Zenith this turn, we're pretty much in the money. There's an answer. Could use another Zenith. Seam Rip's not bad. Gives us a way to answer this Needlehead pretty cleanly. I'm going to hold on to the Chaplain here. Pretty likely that they have removal. I might be able to bait them into trying to like start burning me out or like tap out for a 5-mana Hellkite. That way I guarantee get to land this Chaplain Sheltered by Ghosts. I guess I'll Sheltered by Ghosts on the Gene Pollinator here. That way when it dies, it's like a little less important ultimately. And then if they don't have an answer for it, I'm kind of just running away with the game. Razorkin Needlehead. Kind of seems like they don't have an answer for it. Resolves. Can I put counters on my guys? What do you say about that? Yep, kind of seems like you don't have anything. Swing out. Counters on my guys. 5-0. Did you draw an Obliterating Bolt? You already used 2. Yeah, I know. Shelter by Ghost is really good against mono red. It's crazy. Read my cards all you want. Read them and weep. Am I the toxic one? I mean, my opponents can't hear me. I like to think of myself as pretty polite in paper Magic. Maybe a little toxic. Draw a card. Go for an Air Temple. I'm just going to play this one safe, I think. Air Temple here. Tap down their blocker. Keep them from being able to, like, block and Searing Spear. And by Searing Spear, I mean Lightning Strike. Now they could Lightning Strike the Chaplain, but ultimately that's not going to matter in the long term here. Reading Shelter by Ghosts again. I'm pretty sure you're intimately familiar with this card as a mono red player. Lightning strikes the Chaplain. Swinging for 5. Winning on the back of a 5/5 5/5 Ward 2 lifelink Gene Pollinator. Another blocker on the field. So they could have the mana to fire this up. 4 to fire it up. 1, 2. Pay for a Burst Lightning. 2 for Ward. That's a total of 7 damage on the Gene Pollinator. I have enough mana to 1, 2, 3, 4 activate. 1, 2, 3. Don't have enough mana to activate, but I can play a Voyager Glidecar here. Sorry, I don't have enough mana to double activate my Abandoned Air Temples. Another Shelter by Ghosts. That ought to do it. No need to swing here. I'm just going to play around the possibility that they have another Burst Lightning in hand. On their end step here, I can just fire up the Glidecar, put counters on my guys. They'd have to have like exactly a Braid at this point, which who knows if they brought that in against me. I mean, pretty good against me, but who knows. Crew up the Glidecar. Counters on my guys. And then Sheltered by Ghosts on the Needlehead. And even if they have a Kicked Burst Lightning, I guess if they have Kicked Burst Lightning, which they can also pay the ward for. Oh, I guess they won't be able to pay the ward with a second Sheltered by Ghosts. Right? Kicked Burst Lightning is 5. Double Sheltered by Ghosts, they would need 9 mana, and they have access to 8. Yeah, I think that ought to do it. This forces them to block here. Even if they have Lightning Strike, it's just not enough damage. Yeah, activate the Air Temple. Call that one a GG. There's just nothing they can draw at this point. They'd have to go like, I guess they could go like Legend of Roku, hit a mountain, hit an Abrade, if they have Abrades in their deck. But then I kind of still beat them down anyway. Bulwark Ox, well, that's going to super seal the deal here. And a clean 5-0. Bringing it back to basics, where we started. Pretty high Mythic rank right now. Been a while since I've been at any sort of high rank. I've been playing all sorts of like, I don't know, speculative decks. Like that Grixis Carnage list that I played yesterday, it was sweet, but ultimately ended up 3-2, right? Which is technically rank positive, but I've had a lot of like losing records as well. I seem to do pretty well with the green-white decks. That's kind of where my right in my wheelhouse, I guess I would say. Fun run. Check out the deck if you're interested in playing a more aggressive green-white style. There's a lot of flexibility here. A lot of great main deck equity against board wipes, which is really nice in your green-white aggro decks. Often that is not the case. We smash mono-red decks. I mean, that's evident, I think, with the 4 Sheltered by Ghosts in the main. And our card quality is actually just really high. 4 Zeniths, 4 Gear Hulks, good sideboard options. We had a little bit of luck in our first matchup, I will admit. I believe we had like a split up into Seam Rip run that sealed the deal for us out of nowhere. But overall, sweet deck, functioned as it should. Mana gets better with Lorwyn. If you're interested, yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll be here posting daily content, daily standard videos. And yeah, catch you later. Bye-bye.